Hey guys, welcome. We're going to be going over the exterior estimating form from PaintersRx today. This is a tutorial showing you exactly the capabilities of the form, all the exciting new changes that we've made to it. And we're going to walk you through all that stuff right now, step by step, so you know exactly how to use this out in the field. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start off on, there's two tabs, and we're going to start off on the price estimate tab, and then you'll see that there's now a service agreement tab. All this stuff is pretty neat because what it's going to do is actually, from the inputs on tab number 1, which is the price estimate tab, from all the things that you input into this tab, we're actually going to automatically generate a written service agreement for you based off of your inputs. So you'll notice when we flip back over to the service agreement tab right now that there's a few things that are filled in already. This second tab here is broken down by two parts. So it's broken down up at the top, written service agreement, but the written service agreement is broken down into the task that's going to be performed. For an example here, that's power washing. And then the areas where that actual task is going to be performed. So you'll notice that some things are already filled in blue. It looks like a handwriting type font. Those things are going to change when you actually input the information on the price estimate page. The written service agreement is going to automatically generate for you. So let's jump back to the price estimate to show you what we're talking about. Number one, if you guys want to put it in a company header, you can just delete this up here, get rid of it, then put in your company logo or header up there. So we'll put that back for now. Once you guys actually print this out, you'll be able to handwrite in the name, phone number, email address, physical address, payment schedule, and proposal number for your customer. But the things that you're going to be filling out on the computer when you're using this program, you're going to start out at the very top here in this section. And what you're going to be looking at is all the prep work on the house. So when you go around the house, this is the front, right, back, and left side of the house. And then these are the tasks: scraping and sanding, spot priming, caulking, and power washing. So when you go around the front of the house, you're going to want to take notice, and all the sides. For scraping and sanding, the way that we estimate that is arm's width by arm's width area that needs to be scraped and sanded. So let's just say that there were 5 areas on the front of the house that size. Now what you'll notice is that in the service agreement, scrape, sand, and spot prime says all peeling areas right now. Now if we take that away, go back to the service agreement, you'll see that it says not applicable. There may be times when you paint a house, new construction or something like that, or whatever the case might be, where you don't need to scrape, sand, and spot prime. So as soon as you put some information into the row 6 of this form about scraping and sanding, it's going to change that in your service agreement for you. And all of the areas are going to do that throughout this whole entire estimating form. So we'll just use this for an example. We're going to keep time in mind when you guys are watching this tutorial. We're just going to estimate like the front of the house, for example. So scraping and sanding, there were 5 areas there that need to be scraped and sanded. Spot priming, we don't have to worry about. Anything that's not a white box, like all these boxes and all these boxes, anything that's yellow, blue, or gray, or black, you basically don't have to worry about filling out. Those are all cells that are locked, that are going to auto-generate numbers and have different formulas worked into them. So we could just zero out the rest of these just to show you guys exactly what boxes you'll be filling out. Okay, so next thing you're going to look at is caulking. And the instructions for these formulas, as like a reminder, are in parentheses. So you'll see 1 per area. So an area is arm's width by arm's width. There were 5 areas that size for scraping and sanding on the front of the house. We input a number 5. Caulking, it says in parentheses manual. What that actually means is you're going to take a good look at the house, or your estimator is going to take a good look at the house and manually determine in their mind how long it's going to take to caulk this. So let's just say that it's going to take 2 hours on the front of the house in caulking, and we'll zero out the rest of the form to show you what cells to be filling in. Power wash, enter 0.5 for Y. What that means is if we are going to be power washing the front of the house, that we're going to enter in a 0.5 for yes. And if we weren't going to be power washing, we would enter in a 0. Most of the time, normally you're going to power wash the whole house, but that's just an example, just because we're doing the front like we talked about. Okay, so in the service agreement, you're going to notice a few more changes. The next thing that you're going to notice is that power washing is now filled in. It says power wash all areas being painted to allow 24 hours drying time. Now, if we take away power washing and we don't, oops, I entered in a character there. So if we zero that out, you'll notice that in the service agreement, now we're not going to be power washing the house. So let's just stick with what we're talking about there and leave a 5. And now when you flip back, you'll notice that power washing all areas being painted, allow 24 hours drying time is back. Okay, so the next thing, so we talked about the whole top section pretty much so far, which is rows 5 through 9 here. All the prep work is completed now as far as, from an estimating standpoint. There's one cell down here that has a red little triangle in the corner, and when you hover over that cell, you can actually adjust your hourly charge rate, cell E10, right there. So right now it's set to $25 an hour before markup, and that works really, really well for us in New Jersey. What I would recommend is that before you guys mess with this cell and enter in a different number here, I would actually just do a couple estimates, maybe even on your own home, or and see how this form is working for you based off of your local rates. It's hard to create a form that's uniform across the country. It's actually impossible to do that. So that's why we have the availability to adjust the hourly charge rate there in this cell. So just do a couple estimates the way that the form is set right now, and if they're coming in a little bit high, drop it down $1 or $2 an hour, or raise it if if the opposite situation is occurring, if the price is too low. All right, so the way that you would do that is just click this cell, and you'll see that up here it says 25. You would literally just delete that and then enter in your new number. Let's just say you drop your price down to 21, your charge rate, and then hit enter, and it's going to change all your pricing. So I'm going to turn it back to 25 because that's what works for us. And now the next cell that you're going to have to worry about are the eaves. So as we scroll down a little bit here, we're just going to say that we're pretty much doing all these areas on the house. So this is all the actual painting work in this section. So you'll see the areas that are listed are siding, where you're going to enter square footage, but you'll notice that these cells are yellowed out. So again, if you see cells that are yellowed out, you're not going to be filling in any information there. They're actually locked. If you were to try to do it, that's what's going to happen. So where you enter in square footage is down here for the siding, the next section, right here. So you'll see how it says siding front. So you'll enter in the length. Let's just say the house is 34 feet long and the height is 20. So now you'll notice that all these other cells auto-generate, and up here you have your square footage for the front of the house. You repeat the same for the siding on the right, the siding on the back, the siding on the left. The only other cell that you have to worry about down here to enter in information to are those cells right here that I just highlighted for the siding, and then if you're doing a deck, the length and width will go here. Okay? So that's basically it. So enter in the length on this side, which would be let's just say it's 21 feet long and it's 15 feet wide. That's going to be all the information that you have to enter in there. All right, so moving back up, that's how you enter in your square footage for siding. And you'll notice that as soon as you do that, the service agreement is going to list that you're painting the body of the house right here. It used to be listed in not painting right here, and I'll show you what I mean. So if we zero that out and then go to the service agreement, you'll see that it's now in the not painting section when it was up here. So this is going to list all the areas of the house that we are and aren't painting very clearly. So let's go back to the price estimate page. Put in some information here so we get that to come back. So there it is in the body, painting 1 or 2 coats, or in the painting section. Back to the price estimate. I'm going to go through the formulas really quick with you guys. So the eaves, you're going to enter in linear feet. Fascia, enter in linear feet. Downspouts, you're going to enter in how many stories of downspouts there are. So normally it's going to be either a 1 or a 2. If the house is 2 stories and downspouts go down the entire length of the house, which they should, you're going to enter in 2 stories. So at the front of the house, I don't care how many downspouts there are at the front of the house. If there's downspouts and it's 2 stories, even if there's 1, you're going to enter in 2 no matter what, even if there's 5 downspouts on the front. That's how we handle that part of the estimating formula. So we'll give you some examples. So for the eaves, which are the underneath part, and then the fascia, which is the part that faces you, like the vertical part, and the eaves are the horizontal part of the end of the house or the front of the house, wherever you might be looking at that. You're going to enter in how many linear feet. So let's just say it's 23 feet of eaves, and then there's a little more fascia because there's like a gable end or an A-frame end where there's no eaves, but there's fascia. We'll enter in like 35 or something like that. Downspouts, we'll say it's a 2-story house, and we're going to be painting them. The window trim, so we're just going to count how many windows on the front. So there's 10 windows on the front of the house. The door trim, let's just, you're going to count how many doors there are. So let's just say there's 2 doors, 2 entry doors on the front of the house. Garage trim, we're going to enter in how many garage doors there are. So we'll say that it's a 3-car or like a big garage, 3-bay garage. So we'll enter in 3. Other trim, this would be like corner post or belly board or dental molding at the top of the house, or like maybe if the house is really fancy, some scroll work or something like that. So you maybe like a Victorian house. So you'll enter in the linear feet of other trim, and let's just say that there is none on this house. Shutters, we'll count the shutters. Let's just say this house, for whatever reason, doesn't have shutters on the front, which would be uncommon. I'm doing this for a reason, though, so you guys can see. So now we've got all this information input, so I want to actually skip to the service agreement with you. So remember these: shutters, other trim, and those will be the only ones for now. So we're going to look at the service agreement and look at shutters and other trim. So you'll notice that other trim and shutters are listed in the area that we're not painting, and all the areas that we entered in information for: body, eaves, fascia, downspouts. Window trim, door trim, and garage trim are all listed in the area that we're going to be painting. The only thing that you're going to have to do once you print this out and the service agreement and the price estimate are generated for you is you're going to have to circle how many coats they actually want on these areas. So you're going to circle either paint 1 or 2 coats. So back to the price estimate, railings, let's just say we're not painting any railings, we're not painting any fence, and there's no patio cover. The deck, there was a deck in here, so what we're going to do is, the way that this formula actually works is that for every 4 steps, like steps that you walk up, you're going to enter in 1 hour. You do this manually. There's 10 feet of railing per hour, and then 100 square feet of like deck space per hour. So length times width of the deck, and then for every 100 square feet, after you multiply that, it's 1 hour. So let's just say that we did all the math, and it's going to take us 6 hours to do the deck. And then I think that all these other formulas are pretty self-explanatory. So the garage trim, you enter the doors. I skipped over this a little bit. Other trim, enter linear feet. Shutters, you're going to count how many shutters. The railings, you're going to enter linear feet. Those are like wrought iron rails on the front of the porch, because if you came across something on the deck, you'll see that it's right here. It says 10 feet of railing per hour. So railing, this column you don't use too much, and really patio cover you don't use frequently either. Miscellaneous on the front of the house. So what this means is that you're going to enter in a 1 for every item. An example of this would be if there's like slope sides that are going to take your guys a while to set up their ladders, or if there's bushes blocking the house, or some other difficulty that you see with actually executing the project. So let's just say that there were 3 really big trees on the front of this house that's going to make it difficult for us to access, to be able to paint or set up ladders. So we're going to put in 3. So let's zero out the rest of these areas here. Let me do that. All right, and as we're doing that, we'll jump back pretty soon here to the service agreement to see what else has happened. So we put in some information for decks. So we'll see, I know there's a couple things that I want to go over with you guys after we get all this zeroed out. That comes up when you're actually going to be painting and power washing the deck. Okay, so everything's zeroed out in this section, which is the painting section again, right here. Now this section has everything filled out except for the siding, so we're going to enter in 0 here, 0 here, 0 here. Again, you're only filling out white cells. So the square footage area for the siding and the decks is here. So everything is filled in on the entire form now, all the way from prep work to painting in this section to the square footage in this section. So we'll flip back to the service agreement. You notice now that we're going to be painting the deck, in the power wash area, it also lists the deck. With the siliconized caulking, or the caulking that you guys are going to be doing, since we're doing window trim, it's going to mention that we're going to be caulking window trim, door trim, garage door trim, because all of those are areas on the price estimate page that we've listed as painting: window trim, door trim, and garage trim. So if you were to zero those out, you'll notice that they're not listed in caulking anymore. So let's just back those up. Okay, so they're all back now, right there. Now the service agreement, if we flip back to it, Bondo and Ready Patch, all like little tiny rotted areas as needed. Scrape sand and spot prime, all peeling areas. Again, that's from the prep work section, and that does sometimes show up as not applicable if there's no scraping, sanding, spot priming, which I think I already mentioned. Remove and replace downspouts. So what this section is that you're going to remove the downspouts, paint behind them, and then put them back. So another thing, if we were going to be painting shutters, shutters will actually appear right here, because you're going to take the shutters off, paint behind them, and replace them. So let's just list shutters. Let's just say there's 10 shutters on the front of the house. And then flip back to the service agreement. You'll see that shutters is listed right here. Replacing rotten wood, this does not auto-generate anything in this section. You'll have to list any kind of agreement that you have with your customer about that, if you guys even handle carpentry work. Prime with DTM, which is direct to metal primer. If you're going to be painting railings or some other type of aluminum siding or metal surface, you'll have to manually input that. Priming with oil, that does auto-generate, I think, based off of this input right here, scraping and sanding. Yep. So you'll see that if you're not scraping and sanding and nothing's down to bare wood, that you're not going to be priming with oil. So as soon as we turn that back on here with the scraping and sanding on the front, there's 5 areas arm's width by arm's width that we're going to be addressing. So we're going to be priming with oil all the peeling areas that are down to bare wood. Under prime other, if you guys talk about some other type of primer that you're going to be using for another surface, you would just manually fill that in here once you print it out. Now you'll have all the areas listed that you're painting, all the areas that you're not painting. This section here says other items. So if there's other items that you want to specifically point out that you're not painting, like a shed or a second building or whatever else, you'll list that here manually once you print it out. And you're going to have to circle 1 or 2 coats for all these areas that, you know, how many coats of paint you're actually going to be putting on. This section is just another section that you can manually input finishes, scheduling needs, or other important notes about the customer for when you turn it over to your crew. This is just a clause that you guys can read over for your customer. It's something that works really well for us. I don't know if you guys will like this or if you accept credit card payments, but it works really well for us. And then you'll have a signature line for the client and the estimator, and a little, you know, statement about what it means when you're signing here. But basically, it's an official service agreement that auto-generates a ton of information for you based off of your inputs on the price estimate page. So when we flip back to price estimate, we're not quite done here. So we'll recap. This is going to be manually filled out, this section. When you print out, you'll put your company header up here, task, and for all the prep work and all the formulas and everything that you guys that we explained earlier in the video. You put them in here. Painting section here. Then the square footage section here, all the white cells. Now we're moving down to this section. So it's going to automatically generate 1 coat, 2 coats, and then 2 coats on the deck for you guys. Now these numbers are going to look way off as far as like what pricing should be until you actually input the materials that are needed here. So the first thing that you'll notice is that the material, where the material is going, is here. So all the siding paint is going to tell you how many gallons you need for the siding, for the trim, for the deck, for the shutters, and then primer is something that you're going to have to manually input how many gallons. So again, all the yellow cells are auto-generating, and all the white cells are things that you're going to have to actually manually input. So you'll notice that with primer, you're going to have to manually input how many gallons of primer. So let's just say that with primer, we look up here and we're like, all right, well, what are we priming? So we're going to be spot priming 5 areas on the front of the home. So let's just say, to be safe, we'll enter in 2 gallons, even though we'll probably only need 1. Overestimate a little bit and stay safe for yourselves. So if you have color and finish information, you're welcome to put it in here, but usually for us, we list that in the service agreement down here under finishes, scheduling needs, and other important notes. We list all of our finishes here for the body and that kind of stuff. It's just a lot more room to do that. So back to the price estimate page. The important thing here, these numbers are going to look really skewed for your pricing until you input your price per gallon. So for the siding, let's say we're using top-notch paint, and it's like $55 per gallon. For the trim, we'll use mid-grade paint, $45 per gallon. For the deck, let's just say it's like Benjamin Moore Arbor Coat, and we're paying $65 a gallon. For the shutters, we're going to use the $45, and the primer is cheap for us, so we get it for $30 a gallon. So now what you're going to see is that you get all of your prices generated for you. So 1 coat, 2 coats, and then 2 coats on the deck are generated over here. At this point, you're basically ready to print out your price estimate and your service agreement. If you guys have any questions about how the pricing works, the reason that the 2 coat price is not exactly double the 1 coat price is because we don't do prep work twice. So if you guys think about that, basically if we're going to do 2 coats of paint, there's really 3 parts of the job. We do all the prep work. That takes some time. And then we do 1 coat, and then we do the 2nd coat. The 1st coat and the 2nd coat relatively take the same amount of time, but the prep work is extra time. So if we were going to do 1 coat, we'd still have to do the prep work and then paint 1 coat. So it's almost divided up by like 33%, 33%, 33%, if you could like kind of wrap your mind around it like that. Even though that's not the exact formula because it generates this form in column G and H, generates the actual man hours spent on these tasks for you. So it's not a perfect formula. It really depends on how much prep work there is. You can never make it 33%, 33%, 33%. So it actually truly generates how much prep work you're going to be doing and how much the actual painting time is going to take you guys. So if after, just a quick reminder, if after you guys do your estimates and they're not quite where your pricing should be, or like if you're getting a lot of price objections one way or the other, you can adjust your charge rate per hour in this cell. But before you do that, do a couple estimates with your form and see where you're at. So then the next thing that you're going to want to do is go to File, Print, and I think that these forms fit pretty nicely. You're going to have to go to where it says Settings. It's only going to print the first page right now. So you have to go to Settings and then Print Entire Workbook. And now it's going to allow you to print both pages. So first page looks like it's fitting good. And second page looks like it's fitting perfect also. A few things that you might have to change is if it's not fitting good for you guys, you might have to go to Scaling, this option here, and just fit sheet to 1 page and click that. And then it will adjust anything that you need to adjust to actually be able to print these out nice for the customer. If you guys have any questions, send me an email, but I hope that these tutorial videos really show the value of these forms, number 1, and number 2, I hope they showed how to use them pretty clearly. But if you do have questions, if you've fully watched these, of course, reach out to me and I'll help you guys with anything you need help with. All right, guys, thank you and good luck on your estimates. I hope that you guys do really big things with these forms, and I hope that they help you save a lot of time.